Cool, thanks. So, hey everybody, this is Andrew Connell. This is going to be a bit of a different demo that we've done in the past, and it's because we've gotten a lot of questions, or we've seen a lot of different maybe confusions, maybe not questions that have been asked. Sometimes we see questions that we kind of wish had been asked, and so my goal today is to run through and show you, kind of walk through like how do you go about getting help? How do you go about submitting questions or filing bugs or even contributing back to the community? There's a couple things I want to cover here, but before we get started, just let me say one thing just to keep in mind. I do not work for Microsoft. Some of the things that I'm going to say may not be the exact same thing that they would want to say. I'm a community contribution person, as are most of the people who are working in the GitHub issue list in the SP Dev Docs issue list. Most of the people you'll see there are community, if I can say this, community contributors. And so they're doing this in their own time. This is not part of their day job. And I think that it's one of the things that it's not 81, it's 71 right now, that I want you just to keep in mind when you're going through and submitting these issues. So let me kind of run through some of this. Now I'm gonna try to avoid watching anything in the chat, because we want to make sure that we have a good, solid demo of this stuff, that we can take this video and we can post it on the YouTube channel for everybody else to take a look at here. First of all, so let's say, for example, that you've got an issue, you've got a question. So the best place to go these days for SharePoint development questions is the SP Dev Docs issue list, or the SP Dev Docs repository. So that's where I am right here in the SharePoint/SP Dev Docs. And if I go to the issues list, you'll see a whole slew of a bunch of issues that are all posted here. So let's see how to go about creating an issue. So when I go and click new issue here, what we've done is we've set up a template here for what the issue would look like when you first go to create it. And there's a bunch of stuff that's already here. But if you take a second to read what's here, you're going to notice that a lot of stuff, you're not going to want to keep this stuff here. In fact, we have a lot of explanations here that even say, delete this paragraph after you read it. And this is not delete this paragraph for the person you're submitting it to. This is you as the one that's submitting the issue. So we just give you a little bit of information here. If you want to make an easier way to see this, up here at the top, if you click on preview, this gives you a really good idea of what things you should be getting rid of. Really anything in block quote, that's the stuff that you should delete. So here, this is just a little bit of, hey, thanks for doing this. Second of all, here's an explanation on how to use these checkboxes. Now, we see this all the time. And so this is going to be one of those things that once you see how it works, you're like, oh my God, this is so easy. The idea here is that we have this checkbox list of the different types of questions or issues that you could be submitting, either a question, a typo, a bug, etc. And it even says what you're supposed to do. Now, check this out. If you go in here, most people are just putting an X inside of these boxes here, thinking that that's what these instructions are saying, but they're not. They're saying that if you go put an X in and remove the space that's there, so instead of having a space like you see here, I'm just replacing it with an X. When you do that, check it out. It makes a little checkbox right here. If you don't do that, and if you end up just putting an X in like that, well, if you do that, it gets rendered out all funky. So don't do that. Be a good community contributor and get rid of the space. And you may wonder, well, then why don't you guys just don't put the spaces in there initially? It's like, well, because things get all funky on the rendering as well. So you put a space in there when you don't want it checked. You put an X in there when you do want it checked. So that's step one. And it even tells you that in the instructions. So once I figured that out, I come over here and I blow this paragraph away. I don't need it. Same thing with this one. I blow it away. I don't need it. The expected or desired behavior. If you're doing something and it didn't work the way that you thought it was supposed to work, or the way the documentation says it's supposed to work, say that. If it's a bug, tell us what you expect to see happen, or a picture that you'd expect to see happen. And then tell us what happened. That's what the observed behavior is. When you start going through to start submitting these different issues, there's a couple things I want you to think about. First of all, most people who are helping you, as I already talked about, these people are already community contributors. We're doing this on our own time. So you want to keep in mind that, hey, these people that I'm asking questions to, and probably 90% of people that are going to respond to me, are doing this off the clock. They're not getting paid for this. So when you post an issue, be respectful. The more information that you can share with us, the better the information that you can share with us, the easier it is to help you, and thus the people who are helping are probably more motivated to jump in and to give you a hand. Posting an issue that's like, this is so stupid, this thing doesn't work, da, da, da. Me personally, I'm going to scroll right past that. I'm not even going to try and help you because you apparently don't even respect my time. So I think other people feel the same way, and that's what I'm kind of saying. Microsoft probably wouldn't say that, but just think about how people are going to be taking your question here. Let me show you a couple examples, and I'm going to apologize right off the bat because I'm going to be calling out a couple issues here. But let me show you what a bad issue looks like. Here's a bad issue, right? This is one that was submitted. It just says I'm getting this access is this error here, and then I'm saying, let me get their name off of it so that we don't see that. Well, I guess it's not going to work. They post their error right here. They show a picture, just say somebody please help, but then look at this. We have all this additional stuff is still here, and we've got to scroll through this and see, well, we had all these sections here for a reason, and no one even took it, paid any attention to it, and then didn't delete any of these paragraphs. Please don't do that. Here's another one that I've got that I'm going to show off here. This one came in, this one we got the other day. This one, the problem is just in the title. They took the time to actually get the checkbox right, but then they didn't do anything else in any of this other stuff. That's not a good issue. Come on, people. This is so simple. Here's a good issue. This is an issue by Alex that Alex posted. Check this out. He's got a question and potentially a bug. So he's checked things off the right way. He got rid of all the extra junk that we have there for the helper stuff. He also went through in the observed behavior. He went through and put, this is what I expect to see. This is what happened. Notice how his code is being formatted. Let me show you how he's doing that. Now, I'm going to be able to do this because I've got edit rights on the repo, but check out what he did. He did this concept called code fencing, and you're using these little backticks. That's the key or the character just, at least on a US keyboard, it's in the top left of your keyboard. It's above the tab or next to the 1 key. And so you got 3 of those backticks followed by the language that you're using. So it could be JavaScript or JS or TS or CS or CSS, whatever. That is formatting it. It makes it a heck of a lot easier to read his code instead of just pasting stuff in. PowerShell, you can do it too. Just put PS will do it, or I think Posh will do it as well. Now, one of the things you're also going to see in these issues that we're going to have is that you'll see that we have all these little labels that are showing up, and this has changed a lot recently. How do you know what these different labels do? Well, if you come over here to labels, you'll see here's a list of all the labels. Now, I'm going in and I'm trying to add in some documentation to what these things are. And if I jump over here to the next one, you'll see that there's a lot of documentation for some of these ones that are here. There's a couple of ones to highlight that I want to point out here. If you submit a request for a new feature or for something to change, we're probably going to close your issue pretty quick, but we're going to tag it as a user voice request because requests for new features don't go in the issue list. They go in the user voice place, in the user voice site, and the link for it is right there. We've got these other ones here for the status that you can see where things are. If someone's asked a question, we've answered it. We'll say that. If something is working the way it's supposed to, we'll say that. If there's an issue that has been acknowledged by Microsoft, but we don't have a timeline on when it's going to get released, we put working on it on there. And then if we know when it's going to get released, we'll say it's fixed in the next drop, or we'll say it's fixed and then we'll close it. Now, there's one that I do want to highlight here that people are noticing is coming up a lot more, so that you're aware of what this is. So these purple ones, what happens? When an issue is created, we have a bot that's watching the issue list. And when a new issue is submitted to the issue list, it's automatically going to get tagged with triage. And that's effectively telling those of us who have the ability to edit stuff in the list, in this issues list, to say, we need to take a look at this. This is a new issue that was submitted. We will remove that once it's been triaged and we've either categorized it or we've gotten some sort of action that's been set on it. Now, another one that you may have seen is this author feedback and attention. Now, the way this works is that when you submit an issue and then we respond to you and we are waiting for you to come back and respond to us, we tag it with author feedback. Now, what that does is that starts a timer, and it goes for 7 days, and it waits to see if the original poster, not anybody, but the original poster, the one that created the issue, if they respond. And if they do respond, it will take that issue off. It will take that label off, the author feedback off, and it will replace it with attention, and that timer just stops. Now, the next kind of thing that may happen is, what if the person never responds? Well, after 7 days, you'll see a new tag get added. Let's see, where is it? It's on the next page. you'll see a new tag get added for no recent activity. And what that is saying is the bot's looking at it and saying, hey, if this person hasn't responded in 7 days, we're going to consider this issue stale, and we're going to tag it as no recent activity. If they continue to be unresponsive for another 7 days, we're going to automatically close the issue. Now, that's the bot doing it. We can always reopen it. Maybe somebody got sick. Maybe somebody couldn't get back to them. That's fine. But we're trying to make it so we don't have these outstanding things that are just sitting around. And if you opened an issue up a year ago or 2 years ago, you're going to see me, at least I'm doing a lot of this now. I'm going through all the old issues where people have posted like, hey, this isn't working. And if you were using an old version of the SharePoint framework, like 1.4 or 1.3, I'm going to flag it as, hey, is this still an issue? Because we've had a lot of updates since then, and this may have already gotten fixed. And so it'll be flagged as it needs author feedback. And if you don't do anything, it's just going to get closed. All right, so the next thing is, well, how do I go through and make contributions to this? I'm going to try and do this as quick as I can in 10 minutes, but we'll see how well I can do with this. So I've gone through and I found a couple different issues of an issue that I know that I can fix pretty quick here. So let me open that guy up. So this is issue number 3378, and this is a broken link. And so it's saying here, if you go to this page right here, so I go to that page and I do a find for this text right here, context definition. I'm looking for a link here that's broken. I go click on this link and blammo. Sure, it doesn't work because it's going to msdnmicrosoft.com. Now, if I back up, I'll see that there it is right there. There's the, or is it context, context definition? Oh, I had it earlier. Where is it? It's actually, well, here I cheated a little bit. Come on, go to my link that I have here. Here's where it should be pointing to. It should be pointing to this link. So let's go fix that. So what I'm going to do is I've got this issue right here, was 3378. So let me go over to the issue list, or let me go to the repository, which is this repository right here. Got too many things open. Let me close some of these tabs so I can keep track of where I am. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click fork. And what that's going to do is that's going to create a copy of this repository in my GitHub account. So if I come over here to sp dev docs, apologies for the ugly picture. If I come over here, you can see that this is forked. Now, I notice in this case that it shows that my fork is 18 commits behind what we call upstream, the Microsoft one that's at SharePoint, right? My master branch is 18 commits behind their master, and that's not good. You should never be making any changes to the master branch. Treat that as read-only. You should also make sure that your master branch is as current as it can possibly be. So how do I do that? So I'm going to jump over here to my command prompt. And I'm going to show you a little trick that I do. So I've gone through and, let's see, go to cd repos ac sp dev docs. Okay, so let's get check out. Let's jump over to the master branch. Now, this may go kind of quick for you because I'm kind of short on time, but just understand conceptually what it is, and there's tons of documentation that shows you how to do this. Conceptually, what I have to do, think about this as 3 levels of a Git repository. At the very top is your grandparent. The grandparent, that's the Microsoft repository. That's the one that we want to make a change to. The next step down is your parent. That's my fork of that same repository in GitHub. And then the child is the one I'm currently on. That's the clone of my fork on my laptop. So what I need to do is I need to refresh my local, my fork. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to, what's referred to as I'm going to refresh it from upstream. Upstream is the name. If I do git remote -v, you see that I have a remote called upstream that I have added to my local repository, and where I am, or my local copy, my clone of my fork, and I've called it upstream, and I'm pointing to the SharePoint repository, not my fork of it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say git fetch upstream, and this is effectively saying go download all the data from the SharePoint repository. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want to pull in, I'm going to do a rebase, and that basically says take my existing branch that I'm on, which is master, rebase it off of upstream's master branch. And what that's going to do is that's going to take all the changes from the one up from Microsoft, and I'm going to push that stuff into my repository, and then I'm going to say git push. This shows me that I just had a bunch of additional things that were added to my local fork. So now that I do that push, if I do a refresh, now you can see my fork is now even with master. So now I'm current, I can get going with this. So now let me jump back over to the project here. Let's go fix that problem that we had, that document. So let me find where that broken link was. That broken link is in docs schema declarative context definition group elements. Let's see if I can remember that. Docs, I already forgot it. Docs schema declarative context, docs schema declarative which one? Declarative definition group, context definition group, declarative context definition group element. Is that right? Element extensions. Yeah. Okay. Long thing there. All right. So we're looking for a link, and we're looking for the link for this word context definition. So let's find context definition. Where's our link? Scrolling down. Let's find, it's not, there it is. There's that MSDN link. So let's grab the correct link, which is right here. And let's paste that in. We'll save our changes. Now that I've saved my changes with this, and of course you can use your own, Git tooling that you want to use for all this stuff. I'm doing everything command line to be very explicit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say git add the new, or git status. This will show me that, not status. This will show me that there's one file that's being changed. I strongly recommend you should only have one commit per thing you're fixing. Make things atomic. One commit per issue that you're fixing. So I'm going to say git add everything that I have, and then do a git commit, and I'm going to give it a nice descriptive message here. I'm going to say doc fix. Oh, no, sorry, we screwed that up. Let's go git checkout and then I'm going to do a doc fix. And what is this? This is issue number 3378. Is that right? Got ahead of myself here. Okay, so why am I doing this? The reason I'm doing this is that I should never be making changes on master. I broke my own rule. So I just jumped back over to created a new branch, set this up. I'm going to say now git commit. What am I doing? This is a documentation fix for issue 3378. And then I'll come down here and I'll say this fixes number 3378. Now, if you do it like that, if you actually say fixes and put the number there, when this issue gets committed, it's going to automatically close the associated item. So now I'm going to say git push. It's going to say, hey, you don't have that in your upstream or in your up in your origin. And I'll say no problem. Now I'll go ahead and push it in. So that's what that just did. That last command I did is that's creating a brand new branch. There we go. So just create that brand new branch right here with that one change. So I can now say compare and do a pull request. I'm going to take this branch from my fork and push it to the SharePoint repository, his master branch. And I can just say fixing broken link from issue 3378. And again, I can see where it says fixes. I'm just going to clean this up a bit and I'll move it down here. Again, there's a lot of explanation on how to do this. I'm doing it like that. And I'm also going to say like this, it fixes 3378 and this is a content fix, right? Now, when I do that, I can preview what I did, but check this out. There's a cool little thing you can do with this. I'm going to say pull request, create the pull request. Now that's going to go through this whole process of being checked here by Microsoft to make sure that this is cool, and that's when Microsoft is going to look at this stuff. But check this out. When this PR gets merged, if I hover over this, notice it says it will automatically close 3378. And if I go over to the actual issue, you can see it's even linking my PR over here. That's really important. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is if you're going to be doing multiple, if for some reason you have a PR that actually fixes multiple issues, you need to say fixes issue. And then, so you have to go like this. You'd say fixes issue like that. And then I would do fixes issue 39 and then 79 and 80. You have to do fixes for each one of them like that. You can say fixes, you can say close, whatever you want to say, but you have to, each one individually has to do that. And when you say it like that, what that will do is that then when Vesa or whomever comes around and merges this PR in, it'll automatically get flushed right on in there, and we'll be all in good shape. So the big things to keep in mind here, always make sure that your fork is current, or at least this master branch is current with the Microsoft upstream one. That's a big thing. If it's not, oh, look at that. Thanks, Vesa. You just merged it. That was awesome. So Vesa just went ahead and merged it. Now check this out. Let's go to the issue and see if it closed it. Ta-da. Boom. Automatically closed. And it was closed because Vesa did it. Thank you very much. Pretty cool, right? And see how nice they didn't have to do anything. We just closed an issue for us. So it's really easy to contribute this stuff. If you have a question, ask. Ask a question about this stuff. We'll have this posted. If you want, I'll actually try to write up a doc on this if you think it's helpful, and we'll put it in the wiki on how to contribute and stuff, and how to keep your Git repository nice and clean. So cool. That's all I've got, Vesa. I should have.